Hello Summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides upcoming changes video. My name is Dan, and today I'll be going over all the upcoming changes that are planned for patch 9.16. All the things we'll mention here can be found on the PBE right now, or on the Riot dev boards. But please do keep in mind that nothing is set in stone and changes can be made before 9.16 hits the live server. Also, before we get started, make sure to check out our website ProGuides.com using the link below. We upload a ton of exclusive guide videos every week, and we have a feature called InstaPro, which provides instant 24/7 on-demand coaching from the best of the best. Literally over 100,000 gamers have used InstaPro and ranked up significantly, so click the link below to get started. Now, with all that said, let's jump right in. The Pantheon rework is currently on the PBE, and he looks so awesome. I mean, take a look at these skins. Tell me they don't look badass. We'll be releasing an in-depth guide for the reworked Pantheon sometime this week, so make sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. If you want to be notified when it comes out, then make sure to click that sub button. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on this because he'll net you so much free LP once he hits the rift. Alright, starting with the top lane, Dr. Mundo. First up, we have a few changes planned for Dr. Mundo. Mundo has been struggling quite a bit in the meta recently and was in dire need of some buffs. On the PBE right now, there are 2 planned buffs for Mundo, which are very minor but will help him nonetheless. His E, Masochism, will have its cooldown buffed from 6 seconds at all ranks to 6 to 4 seconds. On top of that, his W, Burning Agony, will have its tenacity increased from 10 to 30% to 30% flat at all ranks. Although these changes are very good for Mundo, his stance in the meta will only improve by a small amount. With the amount of healing reduction, mobility, and bad matchups in the game currently, Mundo will likely struggle to keep up with the competition. Fiora has held a solid stance in the meta for the past few months, and is even considered as a sleeper OP pick by some. For patch 9.16, Fiora is looking to receive a few buffs on her E, Bladework. Bladework will have its attack speed increased from 50% to 50 to 90%. On top of that, the cooldown on this ability has been lowered from 13 to 5 to 11 to 5. Combine these buffs with an early Tiamat, and she'll now be able to push, shove, and split much faster than before. This is a really great change for Fiora, and her win rate / play rate will definitely improve next patch. Despite Jax being one of the strongest top laners in the game, the Balance team are buffing his kit for patch 9.16. Jax's Q, Leap Strike, will have its cooldown lowered from 10 to 6 seconds to 8 to 6 seconds. This is a nice little buff for Jax's early to mid game, but it is very minor and won't impact his stance in the meta. He'll still have an abysmal early game and be very abusable during the early laning phase. Jax will likely remain as a borderline S tier pick for patch 9.16, and his win rate will only move up by a tiny amount. The Riven nerfs are finally here, and they're hitting the rift in patch 9.16. Riven's Q, Broken Wings, will have its cooldown nerfed from 12 to 10 seconds to 12 seconds at all ranks. Come on, Riot! This change will not impact Riven's stance in the meta at all, and she'll remain as an S tier pick for next patch. It's very clear that the Balance team completely missed the mark on this one, and Riven will likely need more changes in the future. Shen will receive a buff next patch, but the changes aren't currently on the PBE right now. We'll keep you updated once these changes come through in our patch rundown next week, so make sure to hit that sub button to be notified of that. Lastly, for the top lane, we have a couple of changes for Sion. Similar to Dr. Mundo, Sion has been struggling quite a bit in the recent meta and needed a bit of love to become viable again. Firstly, his base health has been increased by a very small amount, followed by a tiny increase to his mana pool. On top of that, his mana regen has been adjusted down to 8 per 5 seconds, and his Q, Decimating Smash, will have its damage increased by 10 on both its minimum and maximum damage. These planned changes for Sion are extremely minor and won't impact his stance in the meta at all. Sion will likely remain in our D tier next patch. Moving on to the jungle. Nocturne has been another champion who's been struggling in the meta recently. His weak early game doesn't exactly align well with the current fast tempo meta, which explains why he's placed in our C tier every patch. On the PBE, Nocturne is looking to receive a ton of changes and small adjustments to his kit. Firstly, his base HP, base mana, and mana regen have been adjusted by a small amount. On top of that, his base armor will be increased by 2 at level 1. Lastly, his W, Shroud of Darkness, will have its bonus attack speed increased from 20 to 40% to 30 to 50%. In addition to that, the max bonus attack speed from this ability has been increased from 2 times his base to 3 times his base. These buffs are great for Nocturne, but they won't make a significant impact on his stance in the meta. Sejuani received a few nerfs a couple of patches ago, but has still held a high presence in competitive play. For patch 9.16, Sejuani is looking to receive a few changes to adjust and balance out her power spikes within the game. Her passive, Fury of the North, will have its bonus armor and magic resist changed from 20 plus 25% to 10 plus 35%. Next, her Q, Arctic Assault, will have its cooldown increased from 17 to 11 to 20 to 12. These changes are aimed at nerfing Sejuani's early game, so the opposing jungler will have more opportunities to abuse her weaknesses. Sejuani will likely remain as an A-tier pick in the jungle. Onto the mid lane. Azir has held an extremely high presence rate in competitive play recently and is receiving some much-needed changes for patch 9.16. His W, Arise, will have its Sand Soldier control radius lowered from 660 to 550. Although this may seem rather minor, do not be fooled. This is a very big nerf to Azir, especially in competitive play where that extra range makes a huge difference. Champions like Syndra, Zed, or LeBlanc will be able to bully out Azir much easier now because he'll be forced to take an extra step to control his soldiers. Azir will likely drop one tier and be placed into our C tier for mid next week. Much like Azir, Corki has held a very high presence rate in competitive play and is receiving a couple of nerfs. His base AD has been lowered from 60 to 56, and his AD per level has also been nerfed from 3 to 2.5. These changes won't actually affect Corki much, and you'll still see him around in both solo queue and competitive play. His burst, quick power spikes, safety, and late game carry potential are all still intact, so he'll remain as a powerful pick next patch. Echo recently dropped into our mid lane B tier, but is looking to make his way back into an A tier next patch. On the PBE currently, Echo is being buffed in two areas, which are his E and R. His E, Phase Dive, will have its bonus magic damage increased from 40 to 140 to 50 to 150. Next, his ultimate, Chrono Break, will have its cooldown changed from 110 to 70 to 110 to 50. These buffs are going to help Echo a lot. The 10 extra damage in his E can be pretty impactful during his early game, and the cooldown buff to his ultimate will allow him to play more aggressively during the mid to late game. LeBlanc has held a decent stance in the meta and is looking to receive buffs for patch 9.16. Her Q, Sigil of Malice, will have its AP ratio increased from 30% to 40%. The bonus ratio on her Q will allow her one-shot targets even faster than before, and also trade more effectively. However, do keep in mind this buff is actually a revert from a previous nerf made to her a few patches ago. So with this in mind, she'll likely revert back into her previous stance in the meta a few weeks ago and be placed in our A tier for 9.16. Kassadin is looking to receive a small buff next patch, but the changes aren't currently live on the PBE. We'll keep you updated with these changes in our patch rundown, so stay tuned. Lux recently got hit by a heavy barrage of nerfs due to her play rate plus win rate in both competitive play and solo queue. Aftershock Lux support was just too oppressive and lacked counterplay due to the tank stats granted by this keystone. Whenever you tried to engage, she just soaked up all your damage with Aftershock. Whenever you want to farm, she'll just poke you out with her Q and E. Whenever you want to all in, she'll shield her AD carry and herself for 1,000,000. However, it appears that the balance team realizes they've gutted her a bit too hard, and she's looking to receive a small buff for patch 9.16. Her W, Prismatic Barrier, will have its strength shield increased from 50 to 110 to 50 to 150. Although this won't impact Lux's stance in the meta, it'll definitely help her be viable again in the bottom lane as a support. Next up, we have Syndra. Syndra received some huge buffs to her kit recently, but they just weren't enough to make an impact on her stance in the meta. For patch 9.16, Syndra's Q, Dark Sphere, will have its transcendent damage increased from 20 to 100 to 30 to 110. In addition to that, her E, Scatter the Weak, will have its max damage increased from 60 to 300 to 70 to 310. Although these two changes seem pretty small, you have to remember that Syndra's ultimate was buffed in patch 9.15. This means that she'll now do more damage with her Q, E, and ultimate, increasing her combo damage by a sizable amount. Lastly, for the mid lane, we have Ziggs. Ziggs has been one of the worst mid laners for solo queue and has one of the lowest play rates in the game. Although he does provide a lot of wave clear, zoning, and damage, he's just too easy to kill, especially during the early to mid game. For patch 9.16, Ziggs will receive a few buffs to his W, Satchel Charge. Satchel Charge will have its AP ratio increased from 35% to 50%, followed by a big buff to its cooldown from 24 to 12 to 20 to 12. These changes will make Ziggs a lot stronger next patch, but he'll likely remain as a niche mid lane pick. Sivir and Ezreal are two of the safest and most dominant AD carry picks in League of Legends and are both receiving nerfs next patch. These nerfs are not live on the PBE, but we'll keep you guys updated once they come out. Press that sub button. On to support. Yuumi is definitely one of the most oppressive support picks in the game and is looking to receive a few changes for patch 9.16. Her Q, Prowling Projectile, will have its empowered damage lowered from 50 to 230 to 50 to 190. On top of that, the slow amount has been nerfed as well, from 40 to 72% to 20 to 68%, and the cooldown has been increased by 2 seconds at all ranks. However, this is followed by a small compensation buff to the slow duration, which has been increased from 1.25 to 1.5 seconds at all ranks. Yuumi will probably start to see less play, and she'll be a lot weaker overall next patch. Tahm Kench is receiving some nerfs next patch despite holding on to one of the lowest win rates in the game. These changes are not out yet, but we'll go over them in our patch rundown. Last but not least, Dragon Oracle Udyr and Hextech Rammus will hit the Rift next week. These two skins look amazing, so make sure you have your RP for that. Alright, that's it for our upcoming changes video for patch 9.16. Let us know which change you're most excited about in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed watching this video and want to see more, then please hit that sub button. Also, make sure to check out ProGuides.com using the link below if you want to see huge improvements to your rank. If you want to follow me on all social media channels, you can find me at @DanielAmmerman. And thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you out on the Rift.